right, good evening and welcome everyone. I'm Matt Player, your Chief Student Success Officer. It's hard to believe we're back for the first night of negotiations between Jeffco Public Schools and JESPA. To kick us off, I think it would be important to do introductions since there's so many new faces on both teams. So I thought we would try something different than we have in the past where typically we share our name, position, and how many years we've been with the position. I would like to challenge us to maybe think about what's one interesting thing about your educational background or experience that you'd like to share with the group that others may not know about. And I'm happy to start that off. So Matt Plero, Chief Student Success Officer. I've been with the district for, I believe this is my 6th year now. And something you may not know about me is I started off as a paraeducator serving a student one-on-one with autism, which significantly inspired kind of my career path and passion for special education. So I don't know if I've shared that with you before, but I thought something I'd like to share with this group. So I'm going to go to my left and have Holly share out.
There we go.
Hi, I am Holly Sexton. I am the really lucky brand new principal at Campbell Early Learning Center. So this is my first year there because it just opened. And something about me, this is my 30th year as an educator, and I never wanted to be a teacher. I was pre-med, I was gonna be a therapist, and as a college athlete, we were required to volunteer in schools. And so I was put into a first grade classroom, called my parents and said, guess what? I can't get enough of this classroom, so I'm going to be a teacher. So changed everything, and here I am 30 years later.
Okay, I'm Terry Schlemons. I'm the new Executive Director of Transportation. I've been here a whopping 6 months. But something you probably didn't know about me, I started my career off in education as a teacher, coach, went back to school to be a principal, and then finished up the last 20 years as a Director of Education in Texas.
See if we can make this work. My name is Mark Strelo. I work in custodial services. Working on 23rd year with the district. Interestingly enough, I started as a substitute custodian here with custodial services as a second job, and have since been full-time custodian, day custodian, head custodian, facility manager, and then several positions within the office. Wasn't my plan to be here, but I fell into it, and I thoroughly believe that we end up where we're supposed to be, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brandon Root. I've been with the district for 22 years. I started in the district back in, realistically, like 98 doing a game worker stuff. So NAC had just opened up and I did chain gang and did ticket entry stuff. Started as a campus supervisor in 2001, worked my ranks through the ranks there, became a coordinator, and I'm now in my first official year. I've completed working as the manager for the emergency dispatch operations. Thank you.
Are we going to go around? Okay, well, we had prepared to talk about why we love our jobs, so we might insert that now for our...
Of course, this is a flexible agenda.
So I'm Robert Elrod. I've been with the district for 14 years. I'm currently a facility manager at Elk Creek Elementary. I sit on the JCSSA board. I'm also a building rep. The reason I love my job is I work in the foothills and a small little community, and anywhere I go there, they know who I am. I have a distinct look. So I really dig the fact that I'm part of that community.
And I'm Vicki Flores. I'm staff for JESPA, so I love my job because I get to work with nearly 4,000 education support professionals of all of our job types and get to enjoy hearing great stories every day.
Trevor Byrne. I'm the president of JCTA and the vice president of JESPA. I'm a bus driver, and I absolutely love my job. And the reason I love my job, it's never the same day twice. I love interacting with kids, especially my special needs kids. It is just an honor to be able to work with them. And I love the view from my office every day. I love to be able to see the sunrise come up every day. So it's a fantastic job.
All right, hello. My name is Andrew Kashub. I've been employed by Jeffco for the last 7 years as a food service worker, kitchen manager specifically. I'm passionate about food justice, as many of you are aware. I love the work that I do because I have the opportunity to positively impact children and students. With the passing of Healthy School Meals for All, a bill that JESPA fiercely advocated for, we now offer free food to all kids. So I'm extremely proud of that. And I'm a proud JESPA member because we fight for issues like that that are centered on the common good. But that also means living wages, livable wages. It means affordable quality benefits. And it means respect for students and workers. So I'm here to work to make that happen.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Beestrom. I'm a paraeducator at Sobeski Academy. I'm also the building rep. Worked in the district for 16 years, and I love my job because every day I have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the unique and challenging students that walk through the doors at Sobeski.
I'm Darcy Hassler. I'm a paraprofessional, tutor, and guest teacher. I've been with the district for 17 years. I'm treasurer of JCAP, which is the paraprofessional. I'm also on the newly formed professional development committee with Tanya, so that's really exciting to start that work. And I love my job because there's tangible satisfaction knowing that I'm positively influencing young people's lives and advancing their academic success.
Hi, I'm Nikki Wilson. I've been with the district. This is my 10th year. I was 9 years in preschool. This year I'm a health aide. And I absolutely love it because I know the whole school now. I've been at the same site. I've been at Seacrest since I started with the district. So I know all of my students that graduated from preschool all the way up to 5th grade. I have a great relationship with the whole community of our staff, our students, all of our paraprofessionals. I absolutely love my place and my job right now. Love it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Smith. I've been with the district for 27 years as a preschool teacher. I am the building rep, and I'm also president of JCPK, the preschool part of the union. I love my job because 3- and 4-year-olds are amazing, and they can teach us so many things, only if we listen. It was a preschooler that told me I was much prettier when I wore my kitty ears. A preschooler who, when it was Superhero Princess Day, he chose to wear his favorite princess dress. A 4-year-old child knew who he was, and he was telling me to be who I was meant to be. Children are very wise. We can all learn a great deal from them. So now when I wear my kitty ears in the classroom, to school board meetings, to CEA Board of Directors meetings, to the Capitol to speak with legislators about what is best for children, and also here at the bargaining table, I listen. I listen for people speaking their own truths, like a 4-year-old taught me to do, and I look for people speaking up so everyone can feel safe and beautiful. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Goodkin. I'm one of the directors for special education. And I've been with the district, I think, about 14 years. I'm going to go with how I love my job because I love that, and hearing your guys' stories is great. I also love my job. Special education is definitely my jam, and I love working with teams and families and helping problem solve in order to help their students get what they need and be successful and feel successful in the classroom.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Jeter. I'm Director of Resources for Food Service. I've been with the district for a little over 3 years. And I think I'm also going to follow in your lead and tell you what I love about my job because I don't really think my educational background is that interesting. Working in food service, we feed kids, we do good work, and that's the most enjoyable part, but also every day is different. And I love that about it. It keeps me on my toes, and I really enjoy coming to work every day and doing what I do.
Hello, I'm Steve Landrigan. I'm the new Executive Director for Employee and Labor Relations. I've been with the district for 4 months. Prior to that, I worked in Boulder Valley School District for close to 24 years, 16 years as a Director of Human Resources, part of that role being Employee Relations. And I'm going to touch on a few things here on both sides. I was inspired when I went to school to become in HR, but also I minored in teaching, and that was inspired by my mom, who's a teacher. My wife is also a special ed teacher. And I really enjoy my job in terms of being able to work with you all and creating a better working environment for all of us so that we can then allow during our jobs and our days to be supportive of our students, because that's what we're all here for, to help our students be safe and educated.
Hi, my name is Tanya Lopez. I'm a Director of Professional Learning, specifically focused on education support professionals. I am a first-generation college student. My parents my mom was a Title I para. My dad was a bus driver, and he took me to all my soccer games when I was in high school. So that was really cool, and got paid to do it. So that was awesome. And I think that of all my colleagues in this room, I have one of the best jobs in the district. Get to create opportunities for all of our colleagues to learn more about themselves, learn more about who they are, what they do, who they serve, and that it gives us an opportunity to come together and be stronger as a district. I'm really excited to be here.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Gatlin. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the district. I've been here about 8 months, 7 months, 8 months, somewhere in that range. I've been in education for about 22 years. I started my education journey as a high school career tech ed teacher. So I was in the classroom teaching, and I've worn multiple hats throughout my journey, from a teacher to computer tech to a coach, director of technology, and ultimately operations. So I'm happy to be part of this process and looking forward to the work we're going to get into.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for doing introductions and totally ditching my question for a much better question. So I thought before we get into the work ahead of us this evening, it might be good just for us to continue to build upon our foundation that we started last year. And, kudos to Darcy. I know when we were talking about what does norms for collaboration really look like, you had brought up, we should really ground ourselves in the district values. And I also really appreciate, I think it was Xander who brought forward the JESPA preamble. And we took some time to read that aloud, which I think we should do again, since there's so many new members of our team this year. And similar to last year, I thought it might be helpful, again, just to expand upon the hard work that we did, to take some time to identify those words within the preamble that resonate with you, and then maybe have a conversation around, like, what does that actually look like in action? And if we're comfortable with that, Mark was going to scribe for us up on some chart paper some of the things that he hears from us, and then we could come back together to say, what are the 4 or 5 kind of norms for collaboration that we want to work together to carry out throughout this process. But I want to see, how does that feel to you? What are your thoughts on that, Xander? Is that a good place for us to start this evening? Oh, or Trevor, sure. Got it.
Yeah, I think that would be acceptable.
All right. Would you like to start by reading the preamble? You have a copy here in front of you. Yep.
All right. Preamble. This agreement is made and entered into by and between Jefferson County School District in the state of Colorado and Jeffco Education Support Professionals Association of Jefferson County School District this first day of September 2019. The success of an exceptional educational organization and the students it serves depends upon qualified staff dedicated to high standards, professional development, teamwork, and exemplary performance. Jeffco Public Schools and the JESPA commitment to valuing employees, promoting positive morale, and demonstrating teamwork, integrity, fairness, and trust. The parties honor diversity, respect, and civility among students, parents, citizens, and staff. Therefore, the parties will not discriminate against any person because of ethnicity or race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, genetic information, age, veteran status, or disability. The partnership between Jeffco Public Schools and the JESPA fosters open communication, consensus building, consistency, ambition, creativity, and active involvement between administration and staff. We believe the best decisions are made in an environment that includes mutual trust, respect, understanding, cooperation, and support. The purpose of this agreement is to set forth the wages, hours, terms, and conditions of employment for the education support professionals of Jeffco Public Schools. Additionally, this agreement defines the mutually agreed upon rights and duties of the parties and provides a structure of resolving conflicts at the lowest level.
Thank you, Trevor. So I'd like to maybe propose we just take 30 seconds individually to maybe identify some words that resonate with you that we could open the discussion around. What does that look like? And so, for example, one word that I look at is understanding. Understanding to me might look like asking questions, clarifying statements, so on and so forth. But that may not mean the same for someone else around the table. So the idea here is to really reach some consensus around what some of these words mean and what they actually look like throughout this process. Certainly open to a different way of doing that, Trevor, if you have something in mind, but how does that feel?
No, that definitely feels good. One of the words that stands out, I believe, probably for JESPA the most is respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we sit down for bargaining, that we're equals.
Yep. Okay. Great. All right. So why don't we just take 30 seconds on our own, and then we'll come back and we'll just kind of popcorn out. And Mark Strelo is going to take the time to chart for us to make sure that we capture all the important thoughts that we have to share. Somebody's going to have to be timekeeper for me. This way more than 30 seconds. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right. I do believe that is the timer. So I think, Mark, what I heard one was respect from Trevor, and to JESPA that means equality, right? To simplify words. I think respect also stood out to me, and when I think about respect, I think about being hard on the issues, right? Easy on the people or groups within or people within a particular group. We're going to discuss a lot of hard issues this year, and I think respect looks like paying attention to the issue rather than maybe people surrounding the issue. So I would propose that, and just want to welcome anyone, JESPA or over here. What are your thoughts? What words resonate with you? What are some potential norms for collaboration that you'd like to put out there for the rest of the group? And if anything is unclear around what do you mean by that, don't hesitate to ask. I think clarity is important here.
I just want to say something. As JESPA, as we're on this side of the table, this is part of our contract, so I think we're pretty aware of what we believe it means. So I'm curious what y'all think it means. Yeah, I mean, I would rather hear from y'all, because we've had this in our contract for years now. We understand it. We bring it to the table every year. So if you're the ones that are wanting to kind of talk about how this should be and what the intent is behind this, I think it would be really good for us to hear from you.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, for me, one of the words that also stands out is partnership, right? And I think that partnership is truly the spirit of the preamble. There's certainly some other commitments here, but I think that is the underlying belief.
I can add to that a little bit. Being new to this process and being a learner in the process, I wrote down, sorry, Mark, there's a few of them. I kept so many of the words jump out because I feel like the preamble is truly about if we can have trust, and that the word dedicated, we're all dedicated or we wouldn't be here, right? Because it's a very big commitment. Respect, mutual is in here a lot. I love that it's mutual respect and mutual understanding, cooperation and partnership. And then I drew a little arrow, like that does lead to understanding. And if we don't have all those things, we can't understand each other and get to what we really need for our people. Because all the people that JESPA represents are our people. And that we can't have any of that if we don't understand where each other's coming from. And I think that's really well said in your preamble.
Is this on? Yeah. All right. If I may, the line here, Jeffco Public Schools and the JESPA commit to valuing employees, promoting positive morale, and demonstrating teamwork, integrity, fairness, and trust. So what I pulled out of that was the valuing of employees, where you want to be listening to employees. You respect that we all come from different backgrounds. We assume positive intent, and that we're consistent in how we treat one another. That to me, that stuck out to me.
So from that, are there any sort of norms that we want to make sure that gets up onto our chart paper to have more conversation? I think that was an interpretation of what we believe the preamble means, but getting to, again, like what does mutual respect, for example, look like if that is a value that we want to place throughout this process, which I believe it is. So just want to open that conversation back up.
All right, sorry, I thought I was not going to talk at all tonight and just learn, but of course I can't keep my mouth shut. But going back to understanding, what you were saying, Xander, makes me think, I talk about this a lot with the people I work with, is listen to understand instead of listening to respond.
And I think one last one I'd like to bring up, in the third paragraph down, including mutual trust. And in my opinion, trust means honesty. And I think we all need to be honest at these tables when we're discussing finances and the issues at hand. So I just hope that we can be honest this year with each other.
I want you all to just understand where we're coming from in representing our members, whose number one issue that they brought to us this year was respect, and the fact that they overall don't feel that they're respected in their work. And so if we come in, with that, I guess, charge from our members about being treated with respect, just kind of know that's where we're coming from, in that when there's disrespect, there's eroded trust. There's been a ton of turnover. There are so many problems we're here to fix. And so we just have to acknowledge that that's there and that we have to fix it, and there's feelings, and that it is personal. It is very personal when folks love their jobs and don't feel valued for what they do. And so I get that we don't mean to be personal here at the table and attack each other, but it is deeply personal for folks that we represent.
Yeah, and we totally appreciate that truth, Vicki, and understand where you're coming from. And I know we'll get into kind of the stories behind the sentiment of feeling disrespected or devalued, so on and so forth. But appreciate you highlighting that and letting us know where you're coming from this evening throughout this process. With that said, are there any other sort of norms that we want to establish before we jump in? And I think it would also just be important to know, as we go, we can always add on to the list as something emerges throughout the process, but just wanted to have a starting point building upon last year's foundation that you so nicely laid for us, grounded in our values in the preamble.
And I think, as in last year, we can always refer back to the preamble if it comes to norms. I mean, everything's laid out here pretty well. So if you have any issues going forward, we can always say refer back to the preamble.
Yep, clear as kind, right, Trevor? I gotcha.
And I think it's also kind of assumed and expected that we're coming to the table in good faith to bargain. Yes. We can assume that. Mm-hmm. So we could write it up there, but I think it's an expectation regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with that. Any final comments? Okay, I've learned from last year, wait time is sometimes valuable, right? When you start to talk, someone's like reaching for the mic and then they put their hand back. So just going to be cognizant of that this year too. Something else we talked about last year that I think we did a really nice job of, that's worth putting back up there again, is just having one person talk at a time, and really trying, to the extent that we can, to be engaged and present. We're really paying close attention to what that looks like on our team specifically, in terms of like having side conversations when someone else is sharing a story. So we're just being very intentional about leaning in and listening and learning from the stories that are being told. So just know that that's kind of a personal commitment that our team is making this year. And we just wanted to put that out into the open world. So, all right. I'm going to move on to the next. Thanks for taking some notes for us, Mark, and what we can continue to add to this list that we have up here. We thought maybe we should discuss process and tools, just simple nuts and bolts about what the negotiation process looks like. I know that there's probably been quite a bit of prep work on JESPA's side and on the district side to prepare new folks who are new to this process this year. But my understanding is, we typically engage in a traditional bargaining process, which looks like sharing proposals back and forth, having some work time, asking a lot of questions, engaging in dialogue, so on and so forth. So I assume we're going to continue to operate under kind of that model. But also just want to spend some time identifying what tools we want to use and kind of naming conventions and colors and all those pieces that can either make things go really well or make things go really poorly, as you experienced last year with my Google skills. With that said, I don't know if you want to add anything to the process this year or not, but if we're good with the traditional bargaining and the proposals and all those pieces, maybe we could get into what preferred tools we might commit to using throughout this process. And then I wouldn't actually mind practicing just to make sure that our team is prepared and doing it the correct way, if that would be okay with you all. Thoughts?
What do you mean by practicing?
Yeah,
Right
so
now
for-
we're trading a proposal.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
fun.
yeah. No, not treating a proposal right now.
Okay.
So like just hypothetically, if we were going to use Microsoft Word, right, which is what this current document is, I would propose that initially we have, say, if this is our proposal, it would be like District Alpha, Article 5, right? And we would mark it up in red. And then you would respond to our proposal, JESPA, Bravo, and maybe be blue, right? So I just want to make sure that we're clear on those kinds of systems. If we're going to use Word or we're going to use Google, and are we going to stick to one color? I know last year we got into a whole bunch of different colors, and just making sure that we're properly saving things so that there is kind of that error-free, potentially tentative agreement at the end of the process. Does that make sense?
It does and it doesn't. This does get complicated.
I know.
In every space that I've had bargaining,
Yeah.
it just gets complicated.
Yeah.
So what we do, we use the is it the review function in Word? Like if you clicked up on review in the toolbar.
Okay.
And
Show markup.
we do track changes and show markup. So the track changes is redlining. So you can't really choose the color that it is that, well, you might be able to, and I just don't know. Yes. You can, right? I think I found that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have to make sure we're good on that. We use Google on our team often because everyone has access to it. We have Chromebooks, et cetera. Not everyone has Office on their personal laptops. And then we've generally exchanged them in Word for the record. So we email the proposal. If we're getting into proposing a lot back and forth, counter proposals, we might put the time even in the file name just to be really clear. But the Alpha, Bravo, all of that works for sure. So we'll just have to make sure as we start getting into a lot of counters that it's clear. But
Yeah, no, I thought it was worth discussing. Just again, lesson learned. Last year, I think we were sharing with you and Google, and then sometimes it was Word, sometimes it was Google. I just want to make sure that we're clear on the expectations. We also use Google on our side, but when we're sharing proposals, we'll make sure that it's in a Word format utilizing the tracking changes feature and correctly labeling it using that Alpha, Bravo naming convention. So it's clear which proposal is the most current, and we can timestamp things too. Just want to make sure we're on the same page with that.
was the problem we ran into last year, we weren't tracking changes and just color coding?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll make sure track changes is how we're
Yeah,
doing
I
everything.
think what happened is we had up on the screen and we were trying to do it in real time, and the colors just, yeah, exactly what you just said. Okay. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, I guess clarity for any new members. Do you have any questions about the process so far, or what it's going to kind of look like? I feel like we're all on the same page, but it's always worth pausing just to make sure. Okay. Let's maybe set an agenda for this evening, what we're hoping to accomplish, maybe talk about when it might make sense to take a dinner break. I suspect that we're both prepared to share out kind of at a high level our general interests for the bargaining session this year. I don't know if you've come prepared to propose any language tonight, or if you're expecting us to propose language on any of the articles that we plan to bring to the bargaining session. We'd be happy to share Article 5 if we have time to get into proposing language this evening. But let's just talk through what we want that to look like. And then just a couple of other things we put on this agenda is making sure that we reserve time like we normally do to set future agenda topics. And then, of course, I'd like to maybe propose that we share the facilitation. Just tonight, you know, I'm obviously opening our bargaining session, but maybe Trevor, next time you could open this up. And really what that looks like is just introductions, maybe a question, something like that. You okay with that? Okay. All right. So let's just talk about the agenda for this evening. What do you think comes next? What are you guys' thoughts on dinner? What are expectations? Some of those things. And I'll just take notes in this direct document here.
Okay, we need to order dinner for our team. So I was passing a credit card off. So I think we could get into proposal exchange before that. I think you have it on the screen.
Now, can I ask a clarifying question? So by proposal, you mean like interest, not necessarily language?
Yeah, so I wanted to get into it because you mentioned that we generally do a traditional bargaining process, but usually at the first session, we trade our proposals as the interests and solutions that we're hoping to discuss.
Yep.
And then either the second and sometimes even the third session, we're really getting into language. Hopefully we're getting into language right away so that we can be efficient.
Yeah, and we are prepared to share our interests at a high level for the entire process. And we would also be happy to present Article 5 this evening if we have time. And if not, we'll schedule that for a future agenda item. Has someone ordered dinner for you? Or are we going to need to take a break and do that?
No, we're good. Somebody will order it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So proposal exchange being before dinner. And then are we thinking a dinner break? How much time do you think we need for dinner this first evening? For new members of the team, it's usually around 60 minutes. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. It depends on how that time is being utilized. I think both of us tend to work during the dinner, so.
We'll probably spend time with our members, but I don't think 30 minutes would be fine with us. If you need more, that's okay, but.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes would be fine. We would probably need more like 45 if there's an expectation this evening for us to come back and propose language. So you want to start with 30, see how much time is left on the clock for this evening, and then maybe adjust if we need to.
Start with 30 and just touch base at 30. And
yeah.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. That'll work.
Right. Anything else that we want to try to accomplish this evening? All right. It looks like we'll exchange interests. We'll take a short dinner break. We'll come back and decide what after dinner looks like, but we'll certainly set an agenda for future meetings. And we already established the facilitation. So thanks, Trevor, for offering up that support. JESPA, would you like to start by sharing your interests?
Yeah, we would like to do that.
Okay, I'm going to take this off the screen to get it back on the live stream if that's
okay. Yeah, we'll get set up.
I think we need a Teams invite in order to share screen.
Okay.
So if we need to take a quick 5-minute break to do that.
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes because you don't want me advising. You want Drew to come over and figure it out. Okay. All right. We'll be back in 5. All right, welcome back everyone for the break. We appreciate your patience and flexibility as we figure out how to get the live stream and shared screen technology pieces out of the way. We are going to start by having JESPA share out their interests, and I believe that is going to come from Trevor. Or
Actually, we're going to start. Xander's going to do a brief introduction. We're going to go to Darcy Hessler, and then to myself for our second. So we'll start with Xander.
All right, perfect.
Okay. So we're back. Awesome. Looking forward to it. I just wanted to quickly address members who are here tonight and who are also watching, and who might be also watching later, because we all know this is recorded. So tonight marks the first bargaining session of 2024. And while we're the group that sits up here at the table, we consider every JESPA member to be a part of this team. Over the last month, we've held multiple member assemblies, we've put surveys out, we've had a bunch of meetings and discussed our top priorities. It's abundantly clear that our ESPs are overworked, they're undervalued, and unfortunately both the workers and our students are bearing the brunt of understaffing and inconsistency. I just want to say that thank you, members, for the input, and congrats on being here tonight and participating. Your input and insights have played a crucial role in shaping what we're about to present.
Good evening. Interest number 1, titled Student-Centered and Adequate Staffing. Our goal is to cultivate an educational environment where every staff member, including educational support professionals, ESPs, is integral to creating an inclusive and responsive community. We believe that by centering our staffing decisions around the needs and well-being of students, we can build stronger, more consistent relationships that are essential for a thriving JEFCO community. This interest underscores the importance of ESPs in our school ecosystem and seeks to ensure their roles are not only recognized, but also crucial to our collective success. Recognizing that our people are our strength, we seek to discuss solutions in the following areas: staffing ratios and minimum hours. We seek to establish appropriate staffing ratios across all job families. Additionally, we propose implementing equitable workdays and hours for school year calendar ESPs, aligning them with the teacher calendar. The majority of positions should be a minimum of 6 hours, inclusive of benefits, and incorporate essential training and planning time. HR systems for retention and hiring. Enhancing our HR systems involves ensuring clarity around open positions by posting complete information, including location, hours, benefits, and job descriptions. We aim to examine and improve our pay systems, such as introducing twice monthly pay, conducting job description audits, establishing clear career pathways, and developing a transparent wage schedule. All of this is in alignment with Major Initiative 2, modernizing business processes and systems, including compensation. A comprehensive district plan to address chronic understaffing is essential, along with the integration of the pre-K and ESP wage schedules. We also advocate for the implementation of wage increases effective July 1st each year, aligned with the administrative raise timeline, to adequately cover payments for benefits and equity in raise implementation. Extra duty pay for bargaining unit work shortages. In situations where ESPs are directed to work outside their standard job classification or at a non-assigned work site to cover staff shortages, they should receive extra duty pay. This pay should be set at 20% of the guest teacher rate per hour, acknowledging the additional responsibilities and contributions of our ESPs in these circumstances. Administrator accountability for respectful treatment of ESPs. Holding administrators accountable for Holding administrators accountable for the respectful treatment of ESPs is paramount. This includes ensuring proper staffing, support, training, and valuing ESPs. Administrators should be responsible for creating and maintaining a belonging environment where ESPs are respected and valued for their contributions to the school community. When policy violations occur, administrators will be held accountable and retrained as needed.
So I can go on with number 2, and also if you had questions, we'd be glad to write them down, and then we can caucus and then come back with answers. So if you do have questions, we'd be glad to write them down now.
Yeah. Given that some of this, I think our team would also just like to collect our questions too, and we'd be happy to share them with you.
Okay, that'd be fine.
We can determine the best format for how to have that dialogue. But
yeah, I think our best strategy for that would just to be that if you have questions, we'd love to absorb them and then caucus and then come back with answers for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That said, because I know you're getting ready to go into interest 2, would you prefer that you capture some of those questions that we might have just off the top of our head for interest 1 right now, or wait till you get through all interests and then we can put together our questions and share them with you?
Yeah, we could take the questions for interest 1 now if you'd like. That while it's fresh in your head, and then we can move on to interest 2 if you. Yeah. That'd be fun.
If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask them at this point. We certainly will probably have more questions as we read this more thoroughly as a team, but if anyone has some questions, don't hesitate to ask right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, feel free to ask any more questions down the line as well. Good. Okay, we'll move on to interest 2 then. Interest 2, promoting job stability and consistency in service. Our fundamental interest is to promote job stability for our members while ensuring financial efficiency by addressing wasteful spending on the high turnover costs and contracting out, and upholding consistency in ESP services for our students. Our interest ties into both of the Jeffco Thrives 2025 major initiatives. We seek to build a culture of trust and belonging, build a values-based culture, and modernize business practices and systems. We must curtail practices that lead to staff shortages, such as lack of proper district planning or reliance on shortcuts, which disrupt service consistency and contribute to turnover stemming from undervalued current employees. By focusing on respectful staffing practices, we can improve consistency and provide students with an extraordinary learning experience. Solutions: recognition and definition of the bargaining unit and bargaining unit work. Clear delineation of bargaining unit work to prevent ambiguity, protect roles, and provide for job security in jobs traditionally filled by our members. Restrictions on transfer of bargaining unit work and subcontracting, restricting the unauthorized transfer, reclassification of subcontracting or bargaining unit work without prior negotiation and agreement. This measure aims to prevent job displacement and ensure job security, showing respect for the education support professionals. Bargaining unit work changes, negotiations for any transfer, reclassification, or outsourcing of bargaining unit work, addressing potential impacts on employment terms. This process ensures fairness and transparency in employment practices, addressing wasteful contracting and improper planning. The employer must demonstrate that all internal staffing options have been exhausted before considering outsourcing. This requirement is key to fostering trust and respecting the value of current employees. Prioritizing consistency and reducing turnover. Emphasizing the importance of consistent service provision for students and reducing turnover by valuing current employees' contributions. The focus on sustainability or sustainable staffing solutions that respect and value the work of our bargaining unit members. Sorry, I forgot my glasses today.
If I told you they were on your head, would you believe me?
Those are my
my
sunglasses.
You'll get me back for that. I appreciate you taking the time to share your interest with us. Team, at this point in time, are there any questions or clarifications that you'd like to seek? I do have one question. I know these are just high-level interests, but do you have articles that you intend to accomplish some of these goals through that you're willing to share this evening?
Yeah, we can, once we talk, so we can come back with the articles that we're going to, that they'll pertain to.
Okay. All right. Any questions, team? All right. Thank you, Trevor. Drew, we actually don't have anything to display. If it's best to just have the regular live stream up there, I'm going to hand off to Jeff, who is going to share our interest for this negotiation session. Certainly welcome your questions. We do intend to accomplish our goals through language within Article 5 and 8, if I have those correct. But I'm going to hand over to Jeff Gatlin.
All right, thank you. So we propose to focus on revisions to Articles 5 and 8, as we've identified areas within these articles where the current language leads to ambiguity and potential unfairness. We believe this lack of clarity can result in misunderstandings and inconsistent treatment of staff, adversely affecting morale and potentially impacting the retention of our loyal and dedicated employees. Our aim is to introduce changes that emphasize clarity, fairness, and respect in these articles. We firmly believe these are fundamental to nurturing a culture of trust and belonging in Jeffco. When employees feel genuinely respected and valued, it naturally cultivates a sense of belonging and a deep commitment to their roles. In contrast, ambiguous and unfair articles can diminish trust and disrupt our community's sense of unity, which are critical elements for fostering a positive and productive workplace culture. So, as we enter this year's negotiations, our primary goal in bringing forward Articles 5 and 8 is to shape a work environment in Jeffco where every member feels included, respected, and valued. By revising the language in these articles, we aim to lay the groundwork for a thriving culture and climate. We believe this effort is central to our commitment to ensure that our articles reflect and foster the thriving community we aspire to create together.
Great, thank you, Jeff. We certainly welcome your questions now if you have any. I'm sure you'll have a lot more questions when you see what this actually amounts to in proposed language. And again, we'd be happy to present Article 5 this evening if there's time to do that, but kind of open it up to you all.
We sent you an email from the bargaining team just kind of discussing that we bring items. We don't just bring the whole article necessarily. There's a lot in those articles, so maybe we can learn more about what exactly you're trying to solve in the articles, especially 5 has a lot of different random topics in it.
Yeah, it does.
Might not relate to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we intend to do is provide more clarity in what that looks like and how that aligns with our interest.
So I imagine we'll learn more when you present the language. As far as Article 8, I'm guessing what you're proposing. We had a grievance settlement that the district said they would bring that grievance topic to the table for negotiation. So I'm assuming it's related to that.
I would defer to Steve, but my understanding is yes, that was an item that we agreed we would bring forward.
Correct. That is one of the items, and part of why we're bringing that forward. Right? We also want to gain some clarity around the leave language as a whole.
Okay, so it's about the different types of leave language different groups accrue and are able to use.
Along those lines, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get some clarity as we get the language out.
Any other questions? Need for clarity?
No, not at this time. If you would like, since we have time, if you want to present 5, we'd be good with that. If you,
Yeah, we would be happy to present 5. We would prefer to do it after dinner just to coordinate on our end and ensure that we're prepared to do that, but we would absolutely love to do that tonight.
Okay. Fantastic.
Is this a good time to break for dinner, or where are we at on time?
We can break. We might not necessarily have food delivered yet, so just keeping that in mind.
Okay. Do we just want to communicate back and forth through text message, Teams, email? What's the best communication method there?
You have Xander's text, right?
I think so.
Someone's. I know.
I think text is the best
Text,
way,
okay.
probably just because of the lag on the system,
All right.
or on the internet. So
So then what we'll do, because we know you're waiting on food, is we'll just use this time to get prepared to present Article 5 when we come back from dinner. If you just want to give us an idea when your dinner arrives, then we'll certainly start having dinner ourselves too.
And if we come up with any questions, would it be acceptable if we get those questions to you? If we come up with any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks. All right, we'll be back in.
Mark, may
Go
I
ahead.
propose, just because we do have an audience, may I propose that we plan to return at 6, and if that changes, that we'll just communicate between each other?
That would be fair. Thank you.
Great point, Steve. Okay, 6 o'clock it is.
Okay, welcome back. Before we get into, I believe, the district's Article 5 language, we wanted to just kind of touch base on a couple other things considering mutuals that we haven't really brought up tonight or talked about. So I just wanted to be clear on a few things before we dive into language. So we know that in Article 16, there's a part of 16.5 stating that MEQ thresholds will be reviewed annually in negotiations. So we would like to discuss that this year at the table. And then there are a few MOUs in the contract that we want to also discuss at the table. Do you have something to say? Okay. Specifically, the health benefits MOU. We know that we agreed to do a study of healthcare, and this is for kind of everybody in the district. And this was supposed to be done in time for spring bargaining in 2023. And so we understand that benefits is a part of our negotiations every year, but we want to reiterate and make sure we're discussing it as it relates to this MOU. And then the FNS pilot that is currently in the Edgewater district at some of those schools, we understand that there was kind of an anticipated 2-year span of that happening, and that will be ending this year. So we want to also discuss the continuation and potential expansion of that pilot. Also, we have the compensation work group MOU that speaks about bringing a wage schedule forward for both last year and this year. We understand that that work is kind of being done as we're talking, so we understand that work is happening, but we want to make sure we're talking about it here at the table too. And then a couple other things. We believe there's a couple housekeeping items in our contract, specifically Article 3 and 4 numbering. So just a housekeeping item we want to get on the record. We haven't mentioned compensation and benefits at all this evening, and we want to express that it's hard to come to the table with any kind of financial proposal without having seen the audit this year. We understand there was an extension asked for, but we really need to see that the annual compensation financial review before we can really dig into compensation. And just want to look back up at the nice flip chart we started, and coming to the table prepared is important, but also not having a financial audit released. Need I say more? The trust is not there for that one. We want to make sure we're coming to the table prepared to talk financials right away. That's basically it for mutuals. Thank you for letting us say those things.
Sure. If I could respond just to the mutual, regarding the mutual items on the items that we're required to review annually, absolutely. I think what we'd like to do on the ones where it's not as explicit, for example, like the FNS, I think it has like a 2-year expiration. I think we'd like to take into consideration and respond to that at the next meeting, if that's okay, and certainly support the importance of having the annual compensation financial review information available to you so that you can make informed recommendations just as much as we'd like to be able to make informed recommendations. So entirely support that. I'm happy to follow up with our financial team to see when that's going to be available, and maybe at the next meeting we can provide an update there. Could you just remind me what the housekeeping was? It was 341, I think is what I wrote down.
Yeah, it's the 3-4. It wasn't 3 and 4, it was 3-4.
3, okay.
It just, I think there's a reference to an article in there, and because of this misnumbering, the reference is wrong.
Okay.
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, and we can dig into that and clarify. I just want to make sure we got the right ballpark. Anything anyone else would add? Are you comfortable moving forward with that idea?
I think it's actually 3-2-4 negotiations timeline.
Okay.
And the next one under it shouldn't be 3-2-5. It should be like 3-2-4-1. I wanted to note on the pilot for FNS, it didn't necessarily expire. We didn't set an expiration, but given that we were negotiating that pilot at the last second at like midnight or something, it said that it would most likely be a pilot that would be about 2 years. So that's why it's kind of this open-ended.
Right.
Have we accomplished our goals? Let's revisit and talk about it. We have asked through our partnerships in the community and Coloradans for the Common Good, we had asked board candidates to commit to expansion of the pilot to get healthy food into more schools. And they had, and prior election, we also got commitments on healthy food. So it seems like a good priority and a good thing for us to discuss, but it doesn't necessarily expire.
Yeah, expiration might not be the right word. That's just the word I choose to describe exactly kind of the vague, open-ended language that's currently in there. I don't know, Jeff, if there's anything you want to add here, or okay. So we'll certainly follow up on that. With that said, are we ready to transition over to Article 5?
I think so. Thank you.
Okay, so we're actually going to pass the mic over to Brandon Rood, who's going to take the lead for the district on presenting our proposal. And we've kind of set this up in a format where we'll talk about why the original language appears to be problematic and what our proposed language would offer through the form of solutions and what we kind of see to be some of the benefits of the language, and certainly welcome your questions and feedback at the end. Before I hand off to Brandon, can everyone see the screen okay? I figured there might be some people in the back here. We'll see if I can make it a little bit bigger without losing everything. Better? Okay. And we recognize that this is currently in a Google format, and we'll make sure that when we send this over to you that we put it in the format that we agreed upon, which was the Word. And so that way we can keep track of all the changes. Okay? All right, Brandon.
So the first article that we took a look at was on Article 5 was 513. We did want to note that there was a 511 that we had a minor grammatical that we made a change just on a word itself. But 513, we get down to, we added the last sentence, but I'll read it out for everybody. Employees who are unable to attend work for all or part of their scheduled work shift will have their absence excused if the reason for the absence is covered by a type of leave identified in Article 8 and the employee gives appropriate advance notice of the absence, and the addition was and receives approval for non-sick leave related absences. The purpose with it is we felt that the initial language leads to inconsistent expectations and possibly not having ample staff to serve our students. Our solution is to hopefully minimize that operational impact that would ultimately lead to better student success. All right, 514. Sorry, I'm going to move the mic over. So 514 was unexcused absences that include but are not limited to when an employee fails to report to work. What we took out was that we wanted to change report to work versus show up for an assigned shift as scheduled. And then we removed or redacted for uncovered purpose, or when an employee fails to give notice. And then once again, we took out some stuff. So the language that we'd like to see is unexcused absences include but not limited to when an employee fails to report to work as scheduled, or when an employee fails to give notice for an excused absence. Unexcused absences may be recorded as leave without pay and may be subject the employee to corrective action. Similar to above is that we felt that the term uncovered purpose is kind of vague. We want to make it clear what constitutes an unexcused absence. The notification criteria does not specify the requirement for notice to be given and approval to be received for an unexcused absence, which can lead to misunderstandings and some employments feeling like that's mistreatment. We want to provide clarity, so new language obviously is going to clarify that and what constitutes an unexcused absence. The defined process is including the need to give notice and receive approval for an excused absence, establish a clear, consistent procedure for all employees. All right, moving on to 515. Our changes, I'm not going to read through the strike-throughs as much. I think everybody can see that. But 515, our proposal was to failure to report to work as scheduled without notification provided to the employee's supervisor for 3 or more days will be considered job abandonment and may subject an employee to termination. The main purpose on taking that out is because really we did a strike through on the extended circumstances. While we acknowledge, obviously, there's going to be pressing circumstances and emergencies that are going to go on, it just doesn't define or give examples of what would really qualify that, and leaving there's so much room for interpretation. The notice requirement doesn't specify the requirement for reporting to work as scheduled, which may lead to, once again, different interpretations of an absence. So we wanted to be specific with this. We wanted to focus on the failure to report to work as scheduled without notification for 3 days straight as a criteria for job abandonment, making things straightforward and clear. We believe it'll simplify this by just removing the circumstances clause, taking away consideration for unexpected, unavoidable absences. And that's the initial 5. We can go down into 5.2, which is fitness for duty. The proposed changes were 5.2.2. To ensure staff are fit to perform their job, the district reserves the right to submit employees to appropriate evaluations, physical examinations, psychological assessments, and drug testing when deemed necessary for job performance or safety. These evaluations may occur during the workday, provided the employee goes to a physician clinic or testing site designated by the district. The examination will be without cost to the employee. 5.2.3, let me clarify on that real quick. So 5.2.2, we believe that the original language allows for physical examinations, psychological examinations, and drug testing as necessary, but it's quite broad and potentially intrusive without specific criteria. It doesn't specify the conditions under which these tests are deemed necessary. The proposed language narrows down those conditions under which testing is appropriate. It provides clear guidance, and the focus on job performance and safety makes the rationale for testing more transparent and justifiable. Moving on to 5.2.3, upon advanced, I think we have just minor stuff in 5.2.3, but upon advance notice to the employee may be required to furnish proof of illness as verified by a written statement from a medical professional. Generally, medical notes should be requested when absences extended for more than 4 consecutive days or in cases of suspected abuse of leave. In this piece of it, we wanted to, one, talk about that the requirement for a medical note is clear, but the criteria for when it should be requested, suspected abuse is vague and subjective, leading to inconsistent application. The amount of time when a medical note should be requested is not consistent with updated labor laws, which is the change from 3 to 4. Provides a clear context for when, ultimately we're trying to get to provide a little clearer context for when to request medical notes to reduce misunderstandings. And then obviously we want to align with the applicable labor laws. All right, moving on to 5. Sorry, I apologize.
I can actually comment here.
Yeah.
On 5.3.1, we shifted it from administration to the supervisor just to be consistent with the language that's used throughout this article. If that feels like it substantially changes the content here, we're happy to go back to administrator, but that's just a simple consistency in language that's used throughout this article. That is the same here on 5.5 compensatory time. 5.5.1, you'll see the supervisor. And then the last one that we didn't make any proposals to you about, we're interested in hearing your thoughts on this and welcome maybe even some joint crafting of language if you agree this is problematic. But in 5.6.3, it says, in instances where an employee is terminated as a result of hour reductions, the district will assist the employee in securing an open position for which they are qualified. The issue here is not about assisting an employee so much as it might help for us to clarify what assistance actually means. And the reason I bring that up is because one supervisor might interpret assistance as I'm going to help you navigate our job board, assist you with writing a resume, or serving as a reference. I mean, there's just such a wide range of interpretation here around what we mean by assist, whereas another supervisor might interpret this to mean we're going to find you a new job, which if that's what we mean by that, then absolutely. But let's craft some language that makes that clear. And then I think the other piece here is around for how long would we provide that assistance, if that's important to define a timeline there. And then in instances where there might not be a position available, if we're truly talking about placing an employee into a new position that they're qualified for, what happens when there's not a position that they're qualified to be placed into, or what does that mean? So I don't know if you see this as problematic as we do. We're just hung up a little bit on the word assist and just wanted to put that out there, that we would be open to hearing your thoughts on 563. We could certainly try to come up with some terms together if that was of mutual interest. Otherwise, we're happy to put some language together and send it after the fact. We just weren't sure what your thoughts were on 563. So before we open it up to questions, maybe you could just comment what your thoughts are on what I just shared. I don't know if there's anyone on our team that would add more to what I shared about 563 or not, but I just think it leads to potential large misunderstandings that could have a significant impact on our employees. And it might be worth spending some time to clarify what we mean by that.
I think we have thoughts that we'll probably need to caucus about.
Okay.
But there is crossover into other articles in the agreement that also talk about this. So you can either bring back ideas at the next session and counter with some suggestions.
Yeah.
Or have discussion when we counter it.
Yep. We're receptive to that. We just wanted to put that into the room, that we struggled with this one a little bit, and maybe assumed that maybe there's some challenges that come with this for you as well. And so we'd be happy to hear what you come up with. All right. To that end, thank you, Brandon. And we're just going to allow you some time to ask your questions, and we'll do our best to respond.
I think we're just going to take a quick 5-minute caucus to go over whatever questions that we have for you guys, if that would be acceptable.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for that. We don't have any questions at this time, so if you guys aren't ready to present Article 8, we understand that. And we could move on to setting up agenda and prepping for the next session, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll make sure to put this in a Word document, send it to you three, I'm guessing. And then we'll look forward to potential response at our next meeting. But in light of the next meeting, let me just pull up when we're scheduled to meet. I want to say it's like February 21st. Okay, and that's 4 to 8. Let's talk through. I'll take some notes and then make sure to send out an actual written agenda for us. What are your thoughts on for that evening? Certainly a response to our proposed language on Article 5. Is that?
Okay, so we generally, I think we wouldn't necessarily counter until we've seen all your proposals. So we would present ours in written language. So we should be ready to reduce our proposals to articles. I think you asked earlier, what articles are we proposing? So based on what we presented, some of the language can cross into multiple articles. And as you can kind of see, even with yours, Article 5 hasn't been updated, even though Article 8 or an Article 11 have. So some of this is housekeeping updates.
Yeah.
Just because of the way the contract's formatted, some of it's catching up. So like sometimes we might have an Article 1 definition to propose that relates to an Article 4 issue. So we'll try to be more clear about where our proposals cross into the articles and be specific about that when we present language. Okay. But yeah, I think we can present ours first and then hear from you on Article 8 before we counter.
Okay, so we'll be prepared to share out on Article 8. And you're going to share your articles just in general. Okay. Anything else for that evening? Seems like a pretty full agenda.
And we can do it with flexibility as well.
Okay. And just following up on your initial proposal around your interests, we do have some questions. I think what we would propose is waiting to ask those questions in the context of how it shows up in your articles, but we'll certainly come with our questions, and we'll be happy to share what questions we do have in advance with you ahead of time as you requested.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Anything else for this evening?
One of the items that we requested in terms of information, even though we don't have the audit, it was the information shared with JCEA. If you could also share that with us.
Yeah, can I get clarification on that? You want the actual like materials, or would you like the actual presentation?
I think for now the materials.
Okay.
And then we can figure out if there's something we're missing that we can't figure out from the materials that y'all could present to us next time if we need it or beforehand.
Yeah, we're happy to send that over and then just let us know how you'd like us to prepare. We're happy to follow up the presentation or just let you have the materials.
Just lastly, a bit of housekeeping. Would you like us to save our little name placards for the next session?
I think it's helpful for especially the new folks in the room who may not yet know everyone. As we get to know each other, I think it'll be less of a need, but we'll collect those and we'll just make sure they're here each time. You don't have to worry about bringing those back and forth.
Just checking.
All right.
Do you all know when we'll see the audit and when the extension is through, or could you find out?
Yeah, we'll follow up on what the anticipated timeline is. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because our understanding was the deadline was actually today.
Okay, it may be.
Deadline of the extension was today.
Okay, that could be.
Okay.
Yep, I'll have to follow up with that. All right, I guess that concludes our first session of the evening. Thank you to our audience who came here this evening to sit for a couple more hours onto their day. So we appreciate that. And we'll see you on February 21st.